Hi, I'm Chris Orego, and I will be discussing sensitivity analysis and its utility in evaluating the strength of a potential business case. Sensitivity analysis is a type of modeling where the analysis is changing the values of variables to determine which ones are more likely to have a bigger impact on the outcome. For example, if you were to conduct an analysis for budgeting to pay for your college for your children, there are many variables that you would consider, like what's the likely cost of tuition? Will my child live on campus? How much can I contribute? If I must finance, what are the current rates? And the list goes on and on and on. By listing out some questions tied to paying for your child's college, you can see that there are potentially a slew of data points that could influence your decision. By applying different answers to these questions and seeing which variable has a bigger influence on the decision is the essence of this analysis. Secure sensitivity analysis is toggling the values of several variables across multiple scenarios to see which ones have a bigger effect. This analysis is also not toggling one variable multiple times, but multiple variables multiple times. This analysis is also not meant to be predictive in nature. While the analysis may be based on the analyst's best judgment of likely probabilities, it's meant to be a tool for better decision making, not ironclad. At a high level, the basic steps to conducting a sensitivity analysis are: first, list every measure that could impact the project. Second, for each measure, determine the likely range. For example, are real estate costs in your area between two values? Once a range is determined, devise scenarios based on each measure to test against your base model. Lastly, test your model and summarize the analysis with measures like the internal rate of return and the profitability index. It is important to critically analyze not only the results of each scenario, but also the assumptions made at the outset. For example, you could question whether the discount rate is accurate, given historical trends. As with all models, be sure to guard against bias. In statistics, this is commonly seen as p-hacking, where the statistician alters the data to create a more favorable outcome. Ensure you are using unbiased assumptions that do not lead the outcome. Here is a fictional example of a company that is already providing images to customers but wants to expand their base. SnapThis, a small online photo company, wants to use generative AI to provide schools with a better way to do pictures. Rather than having to coordinate picture days and retakes, they want to use generative AI to produce high quality school pictures that can be provided to the parents and schools on the spot. They envision that they can compete with companies such as LifeTouch with lower prices and more convenience. An analyst at SnapThis conducted a sensitivity analysis and used the following assumptions as a base: 25% growth in revenue year over year, 1 million in revenue in the first year, platform acquisition and minimally viable product development totaling $750,000. Maintenance and upgrade would be $125,000, and project management would be $250,000 in the first year and $125,000 thereafter. Marketing would hold steady at $100,000 per year, and the discount rate was 10%. The analysts ran 6 different scenarios. The first 3 assumed a steady 5, 10, and 15% increase in revenue and costs over 5 years. The last 3 assumed a 5, 10, 15% increase in costs only over 5 years. Generally, this small project appeared to justify the investment over 5 years. The first 3 scenarios, where revenues and costs increased steadily, all had internal rates of return over the discount rate. In the scenarios where the costs increased steadily, the last scenario did not justify the investment as the internal rate of return was less than the discount rate. The main takeaway from the analyst's perspective was the importance of good research on platform costs and IT development. Since acquiring and running a platform as a service was the biggest driver of cost, it is important to accurately gauge what this would look like, especially when a lot of cloud costs are based on consumption, which could eat away at profitability. As you can see, sensitivity analysis is a powerful tool to gauge the strength of a project based on factors that can be tested iteratively. Thank you for your attention and have a good night.